Well, thank you, Chuck. I'm on speaker. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me clearly?
Yep, the level sounds good, Mike. Thanks.
Good, thank you. I'm suffering from a cold. I apologize. So I hope I'm I'm audible. First of all, I want to congratulate Navy and Temple on winning their divisions. This is a great tribute to their coaches and their players. Kenny Niumatalolo of Navy and Matt Rule of Temple. They had wonderful seasons, and it was a very, very competitive league, as you know, this year. We had 5 9-win teams. There are only 2 FBS leagues this year that had that. We in the Big Ten. So again, as far as a recap of the 2016 season, there's no question this conference, top to bottom, is the strongest it's ever been in its 4-year existence, and that was what we were aiming toward all along, to be strong top to bottom, to be viewed as a P6 conference and to be as competitive as the P5. We continued our winning ways. We now, in 2 years, have 18 wins against the P5 and Notre Dame. We had significant wins this year against Oklahoma, Louisville, Notre Dame, among others. In the computer rankings all year, we were often ranked as the 4th or 5th best conference in the country. We play the toughest P5 schedule of anyone. This year's schedule included Michigan and Ohio State and Florida State, Oklahoma, Louisville, Notre Dame, TCU, Baylor, many others, Ole Miss, and we don't shy away from that kind of competition. We have 2 teams currently in the top 25. We could easily have 3 or 4. My own, obviously my own feelings are that we should have at least 3 and eventually possibly 4. But again, it's a very competitive landscape out there. We were 10-1 against teams from the other group of 5 this year, and we are now 20-2 over a 2-year period against the other group of 5 teams. As you know, I've been stressing strength of schedule with the polls and with the committee as well all season long. We have elite players in this league. As you know, Zay Jones broke the NCAA single season career receptions record. He broke the record that was actually held by Justin Hardy of East Carolina. And Zay, of course, plays for East Carolina. He's a Biletnikoff Trophy finalist. Last year, Tyler Matakevich won the Bednarik and Nagurski Awards. Keenan Reynolds was 5th in the Heisman voting last year. Greg Ward was a Heisman candidate a good part of this year. I'm looking forward to the championship game. It should be an absolutely terrific game. These are 2 tough, hard-nosed teams. Temple finished in a tie with USF for first place, and we all know how good USF is. Temple won the tiebreaker by virtue of a win against the Bulls, 46-30 on October 21. Temple is 9-3. They're 7-1 in conference play. They've gotten better every week of the season. They bring a 6-game winning streak into the championship. You may recall they lost by a touchdown at Penn State, and that was a team that it had injuries, the Temple team. It's not the team that is playing now, and yet they still went out on the road to Penn State and only lost by a touchdown. In addition, as you know, Temple beat Penn State last year and almost beat Notre Dame. They have a terrific defense. That's obviously one of the strong points of their team, and they've had a terrific season. Philip Walker, a veteran quarterback, has been a 4-year starter and has had an incredible year as well. And they have quite a running punch with Jahad Thomas and Raquel Armstead. As far as Navy, Kenny Niumatalolo has done a remarkable job with that program. They overcame a tremendous amount of adversity this year. They lost their starting quarterback, Tago Smith, in the opening game. They lost their best linebacker, Daniel Gonzalez, and they've really, he probably could be arguably their best defensive player, but didn't miss a beat. Will Worth has come in and emerged as a terrific quarterback. He's fully into that offense, and they have been just devastating recently on the ground, and they can throw the ball when they need to or when they want to. Their defense is led by, Micah Thomas, the linebacker, who's got 82 tackles. They've got an excellent defense. This is a Navy team that doesn't punt much. They only punted twice in the month of November, and they're very explosive. This will be an outstanding championship game. Looking forward to it. It's going to be at Navy Marine Corps Stadium. We expect a capacity crowd and just a tremendous atmosphere. So again, Chuck, I would certainly stay on the line for questions. But I just want to again congratulate all of our teams. We'll have 7 bowl eligible teams this year, and we also are very proud of the 2 participants in our championship game. Thank you.
We'll take questions now for Commissioner Aresco. Star 1 on your telephone keypad, please, to put you in the queue. Then the operator will introduce you.
Okay, we'll go to Zach Zep with Fox Sports 920, The Jersey.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
How you doing? Good to talk to you.
Good to talk to you, too. So you talk about a lot of accolades that the conference has won with specific players or up for awards coming up this year. Like you mentioned, though, only 2 teams in the top 25. This has been a conference that's been very impressive. What else do you guys think you need to do as a conference to gain more national respect?
Well, I think we just have to keep at it. I think it's hard sometimes. We're trying to break some preconceived notions. I think that the P5 has gotten, the benefit of the doubt often, and I think we just have to somehow break that cycle. In that sense, it's a tough system we're dealing with because you've got this P5, G5 divide. We don't like to be on the G5 side of that. We don't think that's where we belong. We've never felt that way. If you look at what UCF did in the Fiesta Bowl and what Houston did in the Peach Bowl last year and what we've done against the P5 over the last few years and what we've done generally against the G5, and you look at the strength of our teams in our conference top to bottom, we belong with the P5. I guess we're just going to have to continue to hammer away at that and continue to win those big games. Each year we win them. We often dominate in some of those games, but we have had that. I think that those preconceived notions to overcome. But I would put our teams against anyone. I would put our top 6 or 8 teams against anyone in the country, and I also believe that, if you look at the lower tier part of our league, Cincinnati beat Purdue by 2 touchdowns. UConn has a win against Virginia. East Carolina beat NC State, which went into Clemson and lost, missed a field goal that would have won the game, a chip shot field goal. Tulane went to Wake, which was considered to have had a good season, and lost 7-3 in the opening game, and Tulane has improved the entire year. So even, our lower tier teams are getting better. SMU, if they hadn't lost its quarterback, probably could have won a few more games, and we would have had 8 bowl-eligible teams. So I do think that we've got a lot of good teams. I thought, for instance, Houston should not have fallen out of the top 25 this week. And that was an absolutely spectacular game on Friday. And anyone who watched it, and it was a very good rating on ABC, saw 2 outstanding teams, and one won at the end by playing brilliantly. The other could have won and played brilliantly at the end. And when you lose a game on the road after that devastating win over Louisville, these things happen. This is a good league, top to bottom, and I think we could easily see more ranked teams. I think Temple could easily be a ranked team. I see P5 teams with 3 losses, sometimes 4 losses, and they show up. And our teams have to struggle a bit. We finally got South Florida into the rankings, and they've been a terrific team all year and are going to have a tremendous bowl game. So that's essentially it. We just have to keep at it and hope that we can change some of those perceptions.
And last question for me. You talk about the coaches in this conference. You have a lot of good leaders. Just how about Matt Rule and Ken Niumatalolo that are going to be squaring off on Saturday?
2 of our best, 2 of our very best. They're incredible coaches. If you look at what Matt's done at Temple and the kind of team he's built, a tough, hard-nosed team, kind of reflects the city they're in. And they take on all comers. They played great in big games against top teams, and he's just done a remarkable job. In addition, Kenny Niumatalolo has got a long record at Navy as an assistant and then as the head coach. And when you look at what he's done and you look at what they've overcome, this is one of his best coaching jobs ever. They've had to overcome an incredible amount of adversity this year, and they lost a lot of talent from last year. I mean, you lose Keenan Reynolds, you lose your entire offensive line. And then he had the misfortunes of the key injuries on offense and defense. And still, here they are in our championship game, and our league's never been better. They had to defeat a Houston team that obviously is one of the best teams in the country. They obviously defeated a Memphis team, a Tulsa team. These are outstanding teams. This game is going to be a really good one. These are two outstanding coaches, and we've got a lot of them, as you know, in the league, and we're obviously losing Tom Herman. But we'll get a good replacement at Houston and continue that streak of having great coaches.
And we'll go next to Bill Wagner with the Baltimore Sun Media Group.
Hey, Mike. Good morning. How are you?
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
Great. Hey, obviously, we talked at length about the situation, but looking at the reality of where things are now with where Western Michigan is ranked in the college football playoff and not losing again last weekend, do you see any path in which an AAC team can jump over Western Michigan, provided if Western Michigan beats Ohio and wins the Mid-American Athletic Conference or Mid-American Championship?
Well, Bill, I'm always hopeful, and I think that strength of schedule should be a major consideration. I also believe that our teams have distinguished themselves, and depending on our championship game, I think the committee will have a tough decision to make. And by the way, I tip my hat to Western Michigan on an excellent season. P.J. Fleck has done a remarkable job with that program. But I look at that 22 record against the P5. P6. I apologize. The group of five is what I meant to say. I look at that record, 10-1 again this year. Undefeated against the MAC. I believe the last 2 years in all the games we've played. And I say, just look at the strength of schedule and what our teams have to do to get to where they are. And we'll leave it up to the committee. I have a great deal of respect for the committee. They're seasoned college football, observers. They know the sport. And we'll just leave it up to them. We'll see what happens. But, you never know the outcomes of these championship games. They're very, very dicey, as you know.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
And we'll go next to Mark Narducci with Philadelphia Inquirer.
Mike, you had told me when I saw you in Philadelphia that you were hoping to open up negotiations again with the television networks, with ESPN. Has any of that happened yet?
No, Mark, and I don't know that we're going to actually have any negotiations, but I do plan to have some talks with ESPN in December, and it's just very preliminary at this point. We don't know yet ultimately whether they necessarily would want to do that. We've got a few more years to go before there's actually an official negotiation. But we always have, chats, and we'll see what happens. But what I don't want to do, I suppose, is make it look as though there's some kind of imminent, negotiation or renegotiation. That wouldn't be fair to ESPN. I mean, they haven't indicated that they would do that at this point. But on the other hand, we talk, and you just never know down the road. The league has clearly gained stature. It continues to gain stature. It's only going to get better. So I'm hoping down the road that we can do something. But right now, nothing is on the table in terms of an actual negotiation.
And how about your thoughts on having that noon game on ABC for your championship?
Love it. Have to love it. This is 2 years in a row now. But also, it's a credit to what our conference has accomplished. I give all the credit in the world to our teams and how competitive they've been. This is something that ESPN, ABC wouldn't be doing unless they had great confidence that they're going to have a good game, as they did last year with Houston Temple, and they're also going to have a meaningful game. Navy and Temple, it's going to be an outstanding game. The stakes are high. Both of them have an opportunity potentially to play in the Cotton Bowl, depending on some of the results, this weekend. So it's going to be an intense game, a great atmosphere. But it's a great showcase for us to be on ABC. Doesn't get much better than that. And Joe Tessitore, my old friend Todd Blackledge, will be doing the game. Holly Rowe. This is big time for us. We love the exposure, and I'm sure our teams will give a good account of themselves. It means a lot to us.
Thank you.
We'll go next to Sean.
We have time for one more for Commissioner Aresco, please.
We'll go next to Sean Pastor with the Al's Daily.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Hello, Sean. How you doing?
Great. So, I had a question sort of about the Access Bowl and scheduling. You talk a lot about the P5, the victories over P5 teams. Considering the parity and how difficult that we've now seen it is to get through the American undefeated, schedule-wise, have you thought at all about facilitating maybe games against, with such a strong record against the other G5 teams, trying to facilitate games against the Boise States of the world or, projected top teams in those leagues? I guess that's difficult to project ahead of time, but to sort of try to knock those teams out through scheduling rather than always, focusing on P5 and so forth.
Well, it's interesting.
If that makes sense.
We have focused on the P5 because that's really our mission and our goal is to be a P6 conference, and the only way you do that is to beat them and to beat the best. Now, I've said to our membership, we have to take care of business with the G5 as well. And I think scheduling, the Boise's of the world or San Diego State, some of it's geography, some of it is whether it works into your schedule. Those are individual decisions, by individual schools. I mean, we don't, and as you say, you can play a particular team. You wouldn't have thought a few years ago if you scheduled Western Michigan that they would be the top team, this year in the MAC, or if you had scheduled Toledo, or if you had scheduled this. So even there, it's very chancy, and that's, it wouldn't probably be wise to take a strategic position regarding that kind of scheduling. Our scheduling focus has been on playing absolutely the best schedules we can, including the top teams in the P5, and we think ultimately that's where we belong. That's where our sights are set. We obviously have to win those other games as well. One of the last things I'll say is, it's just unfortunate that there's only that one slot right now realistically for us on New Year's Day, and that you have to compete with teams in leagues, and strength of schedule does enter into it. It's just one of those things. We have to deal with it. That's the system currently, and that's a tough system for us. We had a chance this year, if things had fallen a certain way, to possibly have had an at-large team in the top 10, but it's very difficult, and that's one of the things I'm pounding away on, is that I would just like everyone out there who observes college football to look at our teams, to look at the comparable games, to look at the games we play, the games we win, the scores we win by, and I'm not talking about adding points at the end of a game just for show. I'm talking about dominant wins like the one you saw against Louisville, the one you saw against Oklahoma, USF going up to Syracuse, a team that beat Virginia Tech and scoring a 45-20 victory. It's those kinds of things. I want people to look at our conference top to bottom. I hope we start getting the benefit of that doubt. I don't really believe we have yet, but I hope we do down the road. But it's just one of those things. There's only that one slot right now that's realistically available to us, and it's a very dicey situation in terms of trying to get it. But we'll keep fighting. As long as we continue to improve year to year, then we'll get where we want to go eventually.